some of them, and we're young, we're free. Summer's begun, so come run with me. Yeah, we're young, and we're free. It's time to lay us down and go swimming in the sea. 20-something just don't feel right. How the hell can we sleep at night? It's time to kiss our childhood goodbye. We're 20-something, so enjoy the ride.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of 20-somethings. My name's Maya. I'll be your host and moderator for this episode. If everyone just wants to introduce themselves real quick.
Hi, I'm Abby.
I'm Rob.
Hi, I'm Robert.
Hi, I'm Maddie.
I'm Melissa.
Okay, so for this week's topics, we have a lot of kind of like pop culture focused topics. So we're going to start off with Trevor Noah and his abrupt exit from The Daily Show. Just some background info on that. Trevor Noah was the host of The Daily Show since 2015. I believe he took over for Jon Stewart. There's a lot of controversy around this topic. Apparently, he really didn't let anyone know, like, his decision that he was going to leave. It was very kind of like out of the blue. I think he even had like lunch with his boss the day before, and it came as a shock to a lot of people. So whoever wants to jump in on this topic.
Yeah, for Trevor Noah, it was honestly a big shock that he left because he's such a valued and really well-talented talk show host, and just they didn't expect him to leave out of nowhere. It was kind of abrupt. I remember seeing it all over Twitter that day, like no one was expecting it. And it's on the cusp of a couple other people leaving late night shows and talk shows. Like for some reason, there's been like a trend of that, and a lot of people are asking why. And one of the reports I read is a belief that it's due to lack of representation within those shows, not fair treatment. It's kind of bringing it back to like the whole Ellen DeGeneres controversy and what she did with a toxic work environment. So I think it's really kind of starting to expose people again about toxic work environments and really trying to set a standard on. So that's the reason why he left, was to make a stand.
I also saw something too along with that Comedy Central in general, the like channel that the show was on, has kind of been taking a nosedive because of the MTV Entertainment Group CEO, Chris McCarthy. Agency partners were saying that he hasn't bothered to form any like relationships with talent or their representatives. So I feel like that could also, he's been getting shows either canceled or moved to HBO and other streaming services. And then with people he has now, like that's a possibility of what might have happened with Trevor Noah, of just him not caring enough to keep him around. And he mentioned wanting to go live his life and do other things. And if he's not being treated properly by the CEO and everybody else involved, then that could be a big role in that.
Yeah, I saw a lot of stuff about that too, how like the talent wasn't getting treated properly. And especially if you work somewhere for 7+ years, you expect to be treated well because you're like a staple on the whole network. And I also saw that he has plans to work on his stand-up career and he wants to travel a lot. So that could be pretty cool. I think like he's still going to be like big in whatever field or type of job he wants to do because he's still a very big public figure. But yeah, I also agree that Comedy Central and all the higher ups need to treat their talent better.
Yeah, and it's not just Comedy Central. I think a lot of this is also just the fact that like late night TV just is kind of going downhill. I mean, I know that like by the time I was at the age where maybe I was staying up and would have watched late night, like I was already kind of hooked on like streaming services and stuff. And like there's just not a lot of people who are going to stay up that late anymore and watch the whole show when they know the next morning they can watch like few minute long clips of like what they missed. They can see the good segments and they can just watch the highlights. So I think a lot of it is that like there's just not a lot of demand for these people because like James Corden's also leaving. A lot of late night hosts are kind of like stepping down, and I think like it's probably a lot about like mistreatment in the workplace and stuff, but also just like the decline of late night TV.
Yeah, I'm definitely just gonna agree with Abby on that. I was gonna say I think people no one's really watching late night shows anymore. Like James Corbin's leaving, and they're all saying like there's probably no future for them anymore. The only one that I would really look at, I usually just watch the clips, like Abby said, is Jimmy Fallon. And that's only if he has someone interesting on the show. And a lot of times they really don't.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, as everyone else said, like how kind of like popular media is like shifting, you know, as times are changing, and how popular TV hosts and public figures are kind of like figuring out what else they can do, like what other modes they should kind of explore. Lots of interesting things going on in the late night show world. So the next topic we're going to go into is Tom Brady and Giselle and their divorce. That one's been pretty popular, kind of shocking to some, not as shocking to others. I know basically, you know, his Giselle wanted him to go into retirement, and he did for a little bit and then went back into playing. So there's clearly some turbulence there. So I think Maddie's going to start us off with this.
Yeah. So I read that she's threatened divorce several times, and like this really came to light when they both got divorce lawyers on retainer. And it's crazy, and it's a big media circus because it's like the biggest football player ever and like the biggest model ever. And if they do get divorced and whatnot, it's going to be like over like $200 million because they have a whole empire. And so now this is definitely going to be in the news for a lot, and a lot of people are going to be watching it. And I really wonder what's going to happen.
It's really interesting because we just talked about how he was in retirement and then came out, and even he himself has said that he's missed holidays and Christmas and Thanksgiving for the last however many years he's been playing, and he's been playing for a long time, I think since right around the time I was born. And I can't imagine wanting to keep missing that, and I think it's a big thing to look into how many people this affects. It not only affects him and Giselle, it affects the kids too. It affects their kids. I know they have 2 kids together and then 1 kid from his ex, but it affects so much more than just them. And I honestly think after he came out of retirement, it was probably just a she got sick of it thing. She gave up her job so that he could continue to play, and she could kind of watch the kids and handle that aspect of things. And I think there was something along the lines of he was going to retire so that she could kind of go back to work and kind of do a switch on that. And now that's just not going to be able to happen. And that might have just been a final straw kind of situation for her.
It's also yeah, I totally agree with what Alyssa said. I grew up watching Tom Brady, and it's kind of like Giselle, like their marriage was like just something that like I always thought would last for a while. But honestly, like now thinking of it, like their life has been in the spotlight for as long as they've been married. Like there has been no time where it can just be them, and like with all that public image and so much pressure on them, like it was bound to happen. Honestly, like that's what happens with, unfortunately, celebrity couples and all that stuff. But also, like their lives were extremely strict. Like they kept to strict diets, workout routines. Like they have a lot of pressure on their plate just by themselves, and also what they kept within the family. And so, like, I kind of already see like there could be disagreements over that lifestyle. Like they've had criticisms over their strict lifestyle, like how they treat their kids, how they treat just work and life and stuff. And honestly, I can kind of see Giselle getting like kind of agitated by that, and just over time and like finally blowing it up.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I'm completely on her side because I just feel like you're Tom Brady and you have already established that you are like the best. You're the best quarterback. You have all the rings to prove it, and it's like finally time for you to start like being a family man. You announce your retirement, and then all of a sudden like you have to go back. And like I understand, I feel like in a lot of professional athletes, especially at the level of Tom Brady, like this is all they really know, and they're like obsessed with just like doing more and proving how good they are and just being the best and being the best. And I can't even imagine like trying to have like a stable family life with a person like that. So like good for him that he's gonna go back and he's gonna show off and play and all that. But I feel like when you get married and when you have kids, you can't like be doing stuff like this, like you play all those seasons, you show everyone you're the best, and then you go home and you be a husband and you be a father. And I like when I heard that he was coming out of retirement, I knew that the divorce was coming soon.
I kind of want to take Brady's side on this because, he's a pro athlete. They've been playing this game since they were 4 or 5 years old. Like sometimes you just love the game more than other things, and maybe that's not a good time to start a family when you're still playing. But that's all they know. That's all they love. He's made a lot of money doing this, and I've read reports that he really is hurting. Like, he is upset that this is all happening and that it all has to be in the limelight, but it's for the love of the game, I guess. Can't really hate him for it.
Yeah, to wrap this topic up, I also kind of see like both sides. It's hard when you're kind of like that guy as like Tom Brady. You've been that guy in football like for like decades essentially. It's like, why wouldn't you want to like kind of use up all the time that you can? Why would you want to kind of like give that up for like the last couple years? So I can see both sides. But going into our third and final topic of this week, we're going to discuss Kanye West and his introducing the White Lives Matter t-shirts. Also I saw he took a picture with Candace Owens, who was she's a Republican like political commentator. So that was a super controversial image that was going around. It was weird because when he was asked why he was wearing that shirt and kind of like, I don't know if he's selling them or just introducing them, he was like, I'm just saying the obvious, like it's the obvious thing, which like it kind of, in my opinion, is not the obvious thing. But it's just another, Kanye move to make. So whoever wants to jump in on that.
I'll start it off. I mean, obviously, I think we all have to kind of say that, like, how we talk about this. Like I know I'm white, so my voice isn't really that important on this matter. But I definitely have been reading, what other people are saying, and one professor and political commentator said that like whether this is a troll move or marketing, which Kanye is kind of known for, it's dangerously dumb. It's a dangerously dumb message to send for someone with his massive platform, which is like a big part of it. It's like whatever Kanye is going to post, whatever he's going to do, the fact that it can reach so many people is like one of the biggest parts of the problem, is that his platform is huge. So like whether this is like going to become like a big thing, whether we're going to see people wearing these shirts and whether we're going to like see how people think it, like what people think that it means. And I don't know what could come from this, right? But I definitely think that Kanye should be more responsible with what he posts, because the fact is that it's going to a million people, like more than a million people. And it is dangerous, and it's kind of belittling the Black Lives Matter movement, which like really took off recently. So yeah, I don't know what his plan was with this, but I definitely don't think it was the best move in my opinion.
Yeah, I also agree with Abby. Like, I mean, I know I'm white, so it's not like where I can really stand with this subject. But also, I mean, I'm Jewish, so I'm also part of a minority. And it's just like I'm so against like just overall division, and the fact that Kanye like is adamantly protesting this, saying that he did it, like hardcore double down on it. Like that's the issue, because it just brings millions of others into just a realm of hate, and like it continues the whole bipartisanship and how divided the classes are. And actually, his Instagram was taken away as of 2 days ago. He's completely ripped off of Instagram, just like Andrew Tate and a couple other big like controversy figureheads. And it's honestly, as coming from someone who's like so prestigious in music and so well known, to see him like kind of just take this side of hate and this, I mean, the whole White Lives Matter movement was created and to go against the Black Lives Matter movement, even though Black Lives Matter, it says, every single lives matter. It's just we're trying to make Black Lives Matter as more and be like fight for, social justice for them. And Kanye just like, I don't think he knows. I think honestly he does know his power and he knows his influence, but I don't think he knows like how many lives he can actually be hurting.
I genuinely found it amazing that it took so long with everything that's been happening recently, like we talked about episodes ago with everything with Kim and all of that it took that long for something to happen with his social media. But when I read that, I was very excited because, like Rob was saying, it's hurting people. Like he's not thinking bigger picture here, which I don't know if that really affects him. But he was also wearing the shirt to his daughter's basketball game in Thousand Oaks, sitting right behind Kim, which had vocalized her opinions on the shirt prior anyway. But he's kind of just bringing it out into the world, and that was a basketball game for kids, and he's kind of continuing to bring it outside of social media in his everyday life, promoting it And like everyone before me has been saying, I'm white. I don't really know like where to speak on this topic of like having an opinion like that, but it's just amazing to me how far it's getting and that it took this long in general for the social media to happen and kind of get ripped away from him and start being taken away, and that he's continuing to stand for it and just fighting back with everyone that has something against it, which is a lot of people.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people were just very mad because he's a very prominent Black figure. So people who like support Black Lives Matter and whatnot think he should be supporting them as well. But as you've seen the trend with Kanye, he doesn't really care. He just does whatever for attention. And yeah, so I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. 90% of my friends are Jewish. So I think he said when he wakes up, he's going to go DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And a lot of my friends, they have like family, like ancestors, whoever else was in the Holocaust. So they took offense to that. And that's something really messed up to say. And I think that I don't think Kanye understands like when he posts him wearing White Lives Matter, people are going to listen to him. Like, and he definitely needs help. And like someone said, he's definitely not thinking bigger picture. And I think he needs to be more self-aware of that before like he does something that really detrimentally messes him up.
Yeah, I think like his blatant like anti-Semitism deserves like its own topic, and just the fact that like people are so quick to brush over that, like that wasn't like such a horrible thing to tweet. But also I think it's interesting that he kind of goes back and forth where like when he was posting on his Instagram how like the Kardashians kind of keep their like the Black fathers away from their children, all that, trying to like get sympathy from Black people or Black men and like the way that they're perceived like as fathers, and then he'll go and try to like appeal to white people, and he'll go like back and forth. I think there was some rapper I saw went on a podcast to kind of talk about it, of how it's interesting. He's just kind of flip-flopping back and forth to like gain support, I guess, wherever he can. But I just think it's interesting that you can't like do these White Lives Matter shirts and then pull the like, oh, because I'm a Black man, I'm treated this way by the Kardashians, blah, blah, blah. Like you're just trying, like I don't know what he's trying to do. And I really hope he just doesn't understand where like I hope that like his fame and his wealth kind of just put him in a way where he doesn't understand like what he's doing, which I feel like is the case with a lot of really famous and wealthy people. But if he does understand, he's just doing it for attention, for I don't know, like that's a whole new level, you know, like it's not even trolling anymore. It's dangerous. It really is.
Yeah, I think we could all agree like the shirt was an awful thing to wear, very disrespectful. But my big worry is that people are selling them online already, and because he has such a big following, like are people going to start wearing them to like try to make a fashion statement out of it, not even knowing like how hurtful it is to some people? And that's what I think a big problem is.
Yeah, I feel like it's just another like weekly update on like Kanye's saga, and like every week it's a new thing with him, and I really think that he's just like spiraling kind of out of control, and it's almost like you're just like watching a dumpster fire and you're waiting for it to just like finally blow up and stop. But hopefully it gets better soon. Hopefully next week there's no new developments with him where he's like targeting another group of people. But that's all the time we have today for this week's episode of 20 Somethings, and we'll see you next week.